Windy, take us all over the NBA. No one is more plugged in than the Windman. Reveal for us 3 mysteries in the league, starting with James Harden.
Yeah, for sure. So I don't think anybody should make assumptions about Harden. I don't think anybody should assume that just because Nick Nurse is hired that he is gone. I don't think anybody should assume that he's going to Houston. I think basically we have a history here where James Harden has been willing to work with Daryl Morey. He's been willing to trust Daryl Morey, and this hire would be trusting Daryl Morey. So Harden is a big question mark, but really keep an open mind is what I think the league is doing, and I would advise 76ers fans absolutely to do as well. The Toronto Raptors, just like at the trade deadline, nobody's really sure of what they're doing. But if they decide to rebuild, which is absolutely on the table, it could make a huge difference in the player availability market, starting with Fred VanVleet. Then if they decide to move on from Pascal Siakam and potentially OG Anunoby, if those players are all available, we could see major shifts in power balance throughout the league. Then again, they could pull back from uncertainty, hire a veteran coach, and keep the team together. It's one of the big things in the NBA. And then we've been talking this morning about Dame Lillard. The number 3 pick that the Blazers acquired in that draft lottery really is a fulcrum point as we go into this NBA offseason. Dame has indicated he does not want another young player. He wants a veteran who can help him win now. But the trade options versus the upside of keeping that number 3 pick are enormous for the Blazers. And which direction that they go, or if they try to split the middle, if they try to keep the number 3 pick and keep Dame Lillard, is that ultimately going to lead them into a corner with Lillard where he would have to make something go, try to make a demand? So it's probably, the Portland situation is probably the most fascinating situation heading into the NBA offseason.
Yeah, with a superstar like Lillard involved in it. And so, Monica, look, if anyone watching knows, I'm an unabashed, huge fan of Damian Lillard. He's only 32 years old. I think people perceive him to be older than he is, which means the way the NBA is now, he's got at least 3 or 4, if not more, years left playing at potentially his very highest level. Should every team right now be trying to find a way to pry Damian Lillard out of Portland?
It has to make sense. And I know that is not breaking news, but Dame obviously wants to win. And so if you got your roster to add Dame and there's nothing left, it doesn't make sense, right? Like Brooklyn, Miami, these are names that are sort of percolating. Miami, to me, would be really curious because I think, and we might deal with this in the finals, it is masterful, it is impressive, all that Miami's been able to get out of some of their undrafted guys, but like, we're now in the finals and it is big-time draft pick versus big-time draft pick.
Right.
So like, what does that look like for Miami? If it was Brooklyn, they got a bunch of different pieces in that trade for Kevin Durant that I think folks are interested in terms of role guys. And Dame would automatically be like the biggest star there, right? Like he comes to the Eastern Conference. I'm not sure what other teams are out there in terms of this conversation, but it just has to make sense because if you add Dame and you have to gut your roster, you're essentially looking at what he experienced in Portland. Philly could be interesting. We got to see what happens with Harden. So I think the teams that are contending should be exploring it.
Well, the good news is I just so happen to have Brian Windhorst sitting right over here to my left who can answer those questions. Give us a short list of teams we should be thinking about as possibilities here, Windy.
Yeah, well, just to be clear, Dame has not indicated he wants to leave.
Right.
So I don't want to put the cart before the horse. But if they use the number 3 pick, it potentially sets the stage for that. It feels strange to me to talk about a team in the finals like the Miami Heat. But the Miami Heat make a lot of sense if Dame were to become available. They have a number of future first-round picks they can trade. They have a number of interesting young players. It would be a really fascinating opportunity if he were to come to market.
Would I be the only one who thinks the pairing of Damian Lillard, poor Windy's got allergies, am I the only one who thinks the pairing of Damian Lillard and Jimmy Butler would be dynamite? I can't think of 2 players who feel more perfectly suited in temperament, mentality, attitude, and probably game to play together than Damian Lillard and Jimmy Butler.
No, you're not the only one. That would quite honestly be fantastic. If you can keep plenty of shooting around those guys, Bam stays able to stay in place. They got support in terms of the paint. Like, no, you're not the only one. That would be quite something to behold.
We talk about the Heat culture, the Heat mentality. He feels like he would fit right into that. Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.